Mr. President, it's hard to believe, even in a place like the nation's capital that seems so detached from the rest of the country. But it's hard to believe we've now reached the 30th day of this completely pointless, profoundly dumb government shutdown at the hand of Senate Democrats. Senate Democrats have now voted 13 times to keep the government shut down, blocking the continuing resolution that has been passed by the House of Representatives weeks ago. That is the key to unlock the door to this government shutdown. We're nearing a full month of that shutdown, a shutdown in search of a rationale. My suggestion is to our friends across the aisle that they need to look in the mirror and listen to their own people. The American Federation of Government Employees, or AFGE, the largest union that represents federal government employees, called on Congress to, quote, reopen the government immediately under a clean continuing resolution that allows continued debate on larger issues, close quote. That's exactly what we've asked for, time after time after time, but to no avail. Families across America, including the 31 million plus Texans that I have the privilege of representing, are continuing to deal with this uncertainty. Now, it's true that many people are not directly affected by the government shutdown, but a lot of people are, including the very people who are here in this chamber, our staff, government employees, but it's much bigger than that. It's not only the federal employee union, it's the military, it's our Border Patrol, it's TSA, the air traffic controllers. All of these people are working because their jobs are deemed essential without any pay. 1 in 6 Americans lives paycheck to paycheck. I haven't heard a single senator on that side of the chamber who said they are withholding their pay during the government shutdown, which leads me to conclude that they continue to get paid while they deny the same benefit to their own staff and the United States military and all the other federal employees that I've mentioned. If that isn't hypocrisy, I don't know what is. And now, at the first of the month, November the 1st, 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP, WIC, other nutrition assistance programs, food stamps, will stop receiving the benefits they rely on as a safety net to put food on the table. This includes 3.5 million of my constituents in Texas, 1.7 million of whom are children. These are among the most vulnerable people in our country. Our Senate Democrat colleagues are literally taking food out of the mouths of hungry children because of their stubbornness. It is shameful. I've been hearing from food banks in Texas who are writing in with their concerns, saying they will require a 50% increase in food supplies next month in order to keep up with the increased demand for people who aren't getting paid and people who are being denied this basic assistance. Well, what's the rationale? I mentioned a moment ago that our Senate Democratic colleagues seem to be in search of a rationale for this profoundly idiotic and dumb shutdown. Well, the Senate Democratic leader, the fearless leader of our Senate Democrats, said to a news outlet quote, every day gets better for us. Of course, that leads to the question, who is us? Not the 31 million Texans I represent, not the 800,000 federal government workers who are part of the union, not to the children who depend on nutrition assistance to be able to eat. Well, not to be outdone, House Democratic Whip Catherine Clark recently said, quote, of course, there will be families who are going to suffer, as if that's no big deal. She said, but, it's one of the few leverage times we have. So all of these Americans are fellow citizens who are being harmed by this shutdown are leverage, political leverage. I was disappointed to even hear some of the members on the other side who I look to as sort of a rare person of common sense among the crazed Democratic Party these days, who said that this shutdown would prove to be unpleasant, but then reiterated that it would somehow give Democrats leverage. And now Democrats are trying to turn the tables and say, it's Trump's fault. This is surreal. Mr. President, the American people are the ones paying the price for the intransigence, the stubbornness, and the idiocy. That's what Chuck Schumer once called government shutdowns. He called it idiocy. The American people are paying for the idiocy of the Democrats who continue to vote against reopening the government. Is that, I kind of wonder, what do they say to a mother who can't feed her own child because of their intransigence and their stubbornness? Sorry for the inconvenience. You're part of our leverage. We get paid, they get paid, not me, not people on this side of the aisle who've had their paychecks withheld in solidarity with the government employees who aren't getting paid. They get paid, and you can't feed your kids? What do they say to the federal worker, including members of our staff, people working here in the Senate, who wonder, can I pay the utility bill? How about my rent or my mortgage payment? Can I buy gasoline for my car to take my child to school? I guess their response is, well, you should expect some unpleasantness during this shutdown because you are part of our political leverage. Well, the best way to end this disaster, this nightmare really for many Americans who are directly affected, is for just 5 of our colleagues on the other side, just 5, to vote with Republicans to reopen the government, to pass this continuing resolution that will take us at least to November the 21st, but we burned so much of the time already because of the shutdown. It's the 30th of October. This continuing resolution would open the government until for 3 weeks from now. And then what happens? Are we going to go through this movie again and again and again? Well, and then how about those Americans who depend on safe and timely air travel for their jobs? Or maybe they just want to take some time off if they've got some vacation plans. We can no longer depend on the timeliness, and I fear for the safety of our air traffic control system, because so many air traffic controllers are overstressed and so many airports are understaffed that they're literally having to shut down some of the air travel, and flights are being delayed. And I have no doubt, or at least I worry, that public safety is being endangered. Earlier this week, an Austin airport, where I live, issued a ground delay due to air traffic control staffing problems. The same day, over at Dallas-Fort Worth, one of the largest airports in the country, they experienced 413 flight delays and multiple flight cancellations due to staffing shortages. Air traffic controllers, the people who keep these airplanes flying safely, will miss their first full paycheck this week. TSA screeners, the people who are supposed to make sure that air travel is safe, are similarly working without pay. One air traffic controller recently said, quote, "The job is stressful enough as it is, and now you're adding this factor of, hey, when am I going to get my next paycheck?" They'll miss their first one this week, but they don't know if they're going to get the next one, because they don't know how long this profoundly stupid idea of a government shutdown is going to last. One Transportation Security Administration worker said, "Morale is crumbling." You know, it's not just imposing a hardship on these innocent Americans. What does this say about America and our ability to work together to solve the nation's problems? It's embarrassing. It should be embarrassing. In the world's greatest deliberative body, that's what the U.S. Senate is sometimes called. What a joke. What a joke Democrats have made of the world's greatest deliberative body when they shut down the United States Senate and make it impossible for us to pass a simple stopgap spending bill that would take us to November the 21st. Well, I applaud the men and women who are continuing to go to work to keep the planes in the air and trains running on time, even though they're not being paid. But it is entirely unfair, unjustified for Democrats to impose this burden on these individuals. They didn't do anything wrong. And this is only weeks before the holidays, and holiday travel will begin in earnest. If Senate Democrats don't let up soon, you might have to ditch your Thanksgiving visit with your friends and family. And then, who knows how long this will go on? Maybe Christmas. They will be responsible for families to have to cut back on their celebrations during our holiday season, many of whom, not just because of delayed air travel or canceled flights, it's because they can't afford it. They're not getting paid. How are they going to buy the food items that typically we enjoy during holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas? And then what will Senate Democrats tell parents who haven't been paid for an extended period of time when they have to tell their children, well, Santa isn't coming this year because your mom and dad haven't gotten paid. We don't have the money. Well, all this goes to show the utter callousness, the insensitivity, and the wrong-headed motivation behind this government shutdown. All so our friends on the other side can gain leverage. They don't have any leverage. It's on them. The American people deserve better than for their elected officials to treat their livelihoods as political playthings. And that's what's happening. So it's high time for our Democratic colleagues to come to their senses and vote to reopen the government. Is this going to go on forever? What's their end game? They don't know. They can't say because they don't know. They know they've gotten themselves stuck in a supremely stupid idea, and they can't find their way out of it. I can make a suggestion. 3 of them have already voted for the House-passed continuing resolution to end this nonsense. We need 5 more. Are those 5 Democratic senators going to continue to listen to the Democratic leader, the senator from New York, who led them into this box canyon in the first place? He's worried about being thrown under the bus by a political opponent in the next Democratic primary election. This is about retaining power, using innocent Americans as leverage with no plan on how to exit this supremely dumb government shutdown. Mr. President, I yield the floor.